I'm a one-man operation.
Like it.
All right, Inappropriate Earl. We're back. And, you know, I don't get excited that often in my life. Being a stand-up comic of 20 years has made me want to quit. It's made me not want to do this anymore. But along comes a guest and a show. It's kind of like a troll meeting the trollee for the very first time. My next guest, I don't know. Literally have just met him in my garage with his gigantic dog. I was on a show called I'm Dying Up Here. It was recently canceled. This man was on a show that when I saw the billboards, I saw the commercials, I thought, wow, this show looks awful. You know how you see a movie trailer, you're like, oh, they put all the good stuff in the trailer, the rest is gonna suck. And I said, I'm gonna give it one shot. And I was hooked. And I'm bummed out that it's not. I don't like to say it's not coming back. I like to hold out hope. But then again, I think the Fire Festival has a chance. And it's beyond a humbling experience to introduce my guest, Mr. Amir Talai.
Wow.
There's the mic. Oh no, it's all good.
What an intro. That's
well,
amazing.
It's true because
that intro took us on a journey. You know what I mean? It was like this garbage show with a shitty billboard and commercials and then it came all full circle.
Yeah, I'm nervous because it's people don't quite get that we've known each other for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous too.
We shouldn't be.
Because I haven't met you. I haven't seen your stand-up. You know what I mean? Because I don't go to stand-up clubs much.
You're busy working.
Well, no, it's that my wife used to be a stand-up, and so I would see her all the time, and so then we both sort of got tired of stand-up a little bit. So I don't know. You might, for all I know, you might be the second coming of Patton Oswalt or the second coming of Louis C.K. You know, who knows?
Well, I'd rather get the Patton Oswalt. But I've been blocked on Twitter by, I believe, 3 people now.
Okay, that's okay. That's not a terrible number.
Well, let me tell you the first 2.
You know what? I feel like you. Okay, I want to hear this, but I feel like when you get blocked, there should be you should get a report of why you got blocked.
I think I know why I got blocked.
Okay, great. Let me hear it.
Well, the first one was O.J. Simpson.
OJ blocked you?
Yeah.
OJ's on Twitter?
He was.
That's a bad idea. Who's advising him?
Well, he's getting more work than I am. The second person was Bill Cosby.
Okay, solid.
Hammering him.
Yeah, great.
I just asked, I think the tweet that really pushed him over the edge was I asked him if each skin tag was for a victim. He's got a lot of skin tags. And I'm not doing material to you. And then the third was the wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh. Now, he hasn't killed or molested anyone to our knowledge, has he?
Well, I believed he helped quicken the death of a personal friend of mine, Roddy Piper.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. Me and Rowdy. Roddy Piper had Will Sasso on, very funny, a comic actor, and Mr. Sasso did an impression of Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And it's such a spot-on impression. But it was not disrespectful. It didn't bring up any personal matters in Mr. Austin's life. It was just a stupid impression. Yeah. And
Will's not known for his biting, angry impressions.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious in any capacity. Right. And then Stone Cold told Podcast One, which is a big podcast network, it's either me or Roddy.
Wow.
You pick. And that really hurt Roddy. Because he's... are you a pro wrestling fan at all?
Not anymore. I was as a kid. I kind of want to get back into it.
It's horrible now.
Oh, is that right?
But, Roddy was 61, I believe. He was getting tired of traveling the world and, going to these autograph conventions in Jacksonville for a day.
he loved the fans, but he's 61, so the podcasts are a great way to make money and
interact with people.
Yeah, not have to travel as much, and so and then we were taken off. I was the co-host of this podcast.
Got it.
And then we went to another network, and we were told we couldn't do it there anymore, and then Roddy passed. Pretty, it's just not some wild conspiracy, but like I believe all the stress added to his.
Yeah, I hear that.
And then Dane Cook recently blocked me.
Oh,
because
that's 4.
Yeah, 4. I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I told you I'm nervous because I want to get to LA to Vegas because I just love that show for so many reasons.
Thank you.
But Dane Cook sent out a tweet saying, "What's your favorite shitty movie? Like a guilty pleasure?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Employee of the Month."
Sure.
Which was his movie.
That's a standard. How could you not expect that?
And then
as a response.
So, I think I may have.
I'm nowhere near as famous as Dane Cook, and if I said, "What's your favorite shitty show?" I would expect at least 5 people to say LA to Vegas.
But that show, and now we're going to get full on into it.
Okay.
And you've done a lot more than LA to Vegas.
Sure, yes.
But you were nice enough to, I tweet at people at random, I think I was watching football on a Sunday morning. I said, I wonder if I can get anyone from LA to Vegas on this show. And I get told no a lot.
And so you tried Dylan McDermott.
I did try Captain
no.
Dave first.
Then you tried Kim, who played Ronnie, the flight tech. She said no. You tried the black guy Nathan. He said no. You tried Peter Stormare. He said no. You tried Ed Weeks. No from him. Olivia Macklin, who played the stripper. She said no. Finally, then you went to Gambler Gary, the guy with the beard who never had lines, but he was in 14 to 15. He said no.
Well,
Finally,
I'm not going to lie to you.
Me.
Here's the order I went in. I'm not going to lie to you.
Don't lie. Great. I love it.
You're nice enough to come here. You don't know who I am, like most people in the entertainment business. I did go for Captain Dave first.
Sure. I don't blame you.
Because I thought...
Shoot for the moon.
Well...
And then you land on my shit, yeah.
I thought 2 birds with 1 stone. I enjoyed him in Wonderland, which I'm obsessed with the John Holmes... they call it the 4 on the Floor murders. Mm-hmm. And, he played one of the people who got killed. Okay. And then you talk about guilty pleasures before LA to Vegas. And Fox seems to have all these guilty pleasure shows. Mm-hmm. I am obsessed with Prison Break.
Oh, okay.
And for those of you who watched Prison Break, Peter Stormare was the Italian mobster John Abruzzi. So I thought, I could do 2 birds with 1 stone here. And then I thought, that co-pilot was pretty fun. So I'm not going to lie, you were third
okay.
in the list.
All right, I'll take it. You know what? Third to Dylan McDermott and Peter Stormare. That's solid. I'm not mad at that.
I mean, listen, I'm assuming...
They're both legends in their own right.
Well, when people want to interview cast members from I'm Dying Up Here, I'm pretty sure I'm not in the top 3. So, and plus Don Johnson at the end.
Sure. You didn't try for Don, did you?
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. My favorite episode, or my favorite television show of all time is Miami Vice.
Okay.
I would I would quit the podcast if I could get Sonny Crockett on this. Or Philip Michael. See, to be honest with you, I'd rather have Philip Michael Thomas.
Okay.
Because we all know what Don Johnson's been up to.
Right, we've heard. Yeah.
Nash Bridges.
Yeah. Which was my first job, actually, Nash Bridges.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
I was in the series finale of Nash Bridges.
In which he did put Philip Michael Thomas in an episode. I'll give Don Johnson that.
I mean, that's not... He could have done a lot more, I think.
Well, I'm guessing Philip Michael Thomas might be hard to work with.
Oh.
But let's get into LA to Vegas.
Great.
Because it kind of seems like, how long could this show go on? Like, it's LA to Vegas. Like, I get the concept. But why...
Should we tell people the concept in case...
You tell me!
Okay, because chances are your listeners didn't watch it. because they're Americans, and most Americans didn't watch it.
But what? I mean,
So it's about a flight crew that flies a budget airline from LA to Vegas. That's all they do. And it's like Southwest without all the Southwest perks. I mean, it's called Jackpot Airlines. And so it's like the flight crew and then like 3 or 4 regulars. And it's basically the creator actually used to take that flight every Friday. He would go to Vegas, gamble all weekend, come back on Sunday, and he would make money during the weekend to pay for all his bills. He was trying to make it as a writer. We're looking at Joey Bear down there. He was trying to make it as a writer, and he was paying his bills as a gambler. And he got the idea that, like, oh, look at all these characters on here. Can he come?
oh,
up?
she can come up on.
Joey,
He can come up on the couch.
Good boy. So he wrote the show. So that's what the show's about. And I played the co-pilot, and Dylan McDermott was the pilot.
And like, I'm always fascinated by why shows don't make it, or like, why do you think it only got a year run? Because I really thought it was funny. It was like Prison Break from the standpoint it was such a guilty pleasure, and to see Dylan McDermott acting in like a comedic role, and Peter Stormare is
Yeah.
I don't know if he's considered a serious actor, but like, you don't see him in a lot of comedies.
Right? No. He tends to play weirdos.
Right.
Because he's a weirdo. I don't know why it didn't do better. I mean, we had about 2 million viewers a week, which I thought was solid.
Which would seem to be enough to bring it back.
Yeah, it sort of depends on the network. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're like a CW show with 2 million viewers a week, that's really good. If you're like, I don't know. My guess is like a CBS show that has 2 million is like really bad, and Fox 2 million a week is like right on the cusp. We were right on the cusp. It sort of came down to the end, like, you know, it was like a judgment call from Fox whether they wanted to keep it around or not. And in the end, you know, all the sort of like backroom negotiations led to us not getting picked up.
So there was a possibility they were thinking of bringing it back.
Oh yeah, we were definitely on the cusp, and they had decided, they canceled everything they wanted to cancel. They picked up everything they wanted to pick up, but they didn't let us know if we were going to get picked up or not, or if we were canceled. We were in limbo for like a week and a half after everybody else had their fates decided. We were just on pins and needles waiting for Fox to decide, and, you know, for them to sort of like work out with the executive producers, whatever, sort of random negotiations. Can you cut this budget? Can you get this guest star? Can you, you know, promise that you'll do this and that? And for whatever reason, they were like, okay, we're gonna pass.
I mean, I like to hold on to things. Like, I still expect to get a phone call saying, hey, Showtime, they canceled I'm Dying Up Here, but we want to go to Netflix with the show. Like, as Richard Crenna said to Stallone at the hardware store at the end of the first Rambo, is it over, Johnny, for LA to Vegas? I mean, could it? I mean, like, and I'm being serious. Like,
I can't see any way that it could come back, because I've never heard of a show that had one so-so year and got picked up again somewhere else.
right.
You
Like,
know,
not 30 Rock, what's the
Brooklyn,
show?
Brooklyn
Right.
Nine-Nine. Right. So they had, I think they had 4 years or 5 years, and their last year they had not as good ratings as their other years. They were so-so. They were sort of like us. They were on the cusp. But because they had all this sort of back catalog, they had this cult, or not cult, but dedicated fan base. That's why NBC swooped in and picked them up. But I've never seen that happen with like a 1-year show, with like a first-year show.
Like, when you guys were doing the table reads, I mean, those struck me as like, wow, those must have been fun.
They were a blast. They were so fun. Everyone like gave it their all on the table reads. We just had the best time, and everybody on the show was like, you know, you always say like, oh, we're such a family, and blah, blah, but like, it was weird the extent to which we became comfortable with each other within like a week. Like, we were literally like sharing clothes, eating off each other's plates. Like, it was very, very tight knit quickly.
Like some of my favorite shows are like, say, Sons of Anarchy, where you could see that the cast liked each other. I mean, it's weird to see that when they're acting, but like, or The Shield or The Wire, and you got that feeling watching LA to Vegas. Like,
yeah, I remember there was one episode where Kim and Olivia like shared a hug because like one of them was like there for the other one, and in that moment when they hugged, I was like, that was definitely a real hug. Like, you know what I mean? The two of them like love each other, and you could see that watching the show, and it was really great. I feel like that definitely like helped our like chemistry and just the sort of vibe of the show. And I think that bore out in some of the fan reactions to the show. You know, like I talked to a lot of the fans on Twitter, and they were all like, both of our fans, like, no, all of our fans were very, they talked about our chemistry, they talked about our relationships, so it was really cool.
yeah, like you and Dylan McDermott, like you guys had like, it was almost like you guys were a comedy team.
You know what's funny is, so I tried out for Peter Stormare's part.
Really?
Yeah. I tried out for Peter Stormare's part, like maybe like a month or so before the show got made, and I felt okay about it, but I was like, this isn't a fit, and they knew immediately it wasn't a fit.
But why do you say that?
Well, it was written as like an Armenian guy in his 50s.
Okay.
And they weren't quite finding that, so they opened it up age-wise. They opened it up ethnicity-wise. They were just like, they were trying different things, trying to see like what hit. And I think eventually they were like, oh, we can get Peter. That's dope. Like, let's cast Peter because he's so weird and great. And then the night before shooting started, they were like, oh, we have this co-pilot role. Let's call Amir and see if he'll do it. And they just offered it to me. I didn't audition for it. They were just like, hey, it's 2 lines. We don't know if it's going to be in more than one episode. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, of course. And they had envisioned, and I didn't find this out until we got canceled, actually. They had envisioned the role to be like Murphy Brown's assistants, like different every episode and a different weirdo every episode. But after we shot the pilot, they were just like, there's something about him and Dylan together. Let's keep him around for a few episodes. So they were like, yeah, why don't you do like maybe 3 to 5 after we come back? And I was like, great, yeah, whatever you want. And then after like 3 or 4 episodes, they were like, hey, we want you to do every episode. And I was like, great, amazing. So yeah, it's just like total like fluke how that happened. And they kept saying, we just love your chemistry with Dylan. You two together are great, which is the nuttiest thing because, you know, I was a fan of his from The Practice.
Oh my God.
20 years ago. You know? Like thought I wanted to become a lawyer because of Dylan McDermott. You know what I mean? My brother actually, in part, is a lawyer because of Dylan McDermott. Like, we were huge practice fans. So to be told that you and Dylan McDermott have great chemistry was just mind-blowing and so cool. And yeah, it was... You're not the first person to tell me that, and every time I'm just like so delighted to hear it. It's crazy.
Is it hard coming from a comedy background to like try and do comedy with a serious actor?
No, because like he's a real nut. He's legit funny. I mean, I thought that the show was gonna do for him what Brooklyn did for Andre Braugher,
who I love.
He's so great, and he's a brilliant dramatic actor. And then he did that, and everyone went, holy shit, Brower's funny. And I really thought that was going to happen for Dylan, too, because we would get into stuff, and he's just like, he's so nutty, he's so strange and funny, and he would play like Cardi B between takes on his iPhone. Just like so silly and weird. One time I was like, someone said, so I asked someone like, what do you do when you're starstruck by someone? Like, what do you do? And someone told me, ask them about a time that they were starstruck. Right. And I was like, oh, that's really that's good advice, because it sort of like gives you something to talk about like that. And so I forget, one time I asked a celebrity that, and they were like, Bruce Springsteen. I did. Oh, I think it might have been Bobby Moynihan that I asked. And in that moment, Bobby and I are talking about how amazing Bruce Springsteen is. So now, like, I feel sort of on equal footing with Bobby Moynihan, even though he's, like, amazing, this, like, hilarious guy that I look up to. So I asked Dylan, I was like, Dylan, When was the last time you were starstruck? And he goes, right now, Amir. Right now. Like, didn't miss a beat. And he's just like, he's silly like that. He's quick. And so, yeah, it was actually really easy to be funny with him. I hope he gets more chances to be funny because I think he's great.
Well, if I have anything to do with it, I want to start a grassroots campaign.
Okay.
To get this show back. I know the odds are long.
Yeah.
But, you know, Weezer has a hit song out right now. It's a cover of Toto's Africa.
Right.
And it's all based on a fan just hammering them to do the cover.
Is that right?
Just a guy on Twitter just was tweeting at Rivers Cuomo every day. And just, you got to do a cover of this song. And now it got so big they did a whole covers album.
Wow.
Well, that's funny you say that about Dylan because, like, some of my favorite movies were when the leads were in, like RoboCop, the original RoboCop, not the remake. Kurtwood Smith had always played good guys, and I think that his role in RoboCop was one of the best bad guys of all time. And same thing with Hans von Gruber in Die Hard. He was always, you know, a good guy type, and you know, I love it. Airplane is probably the biggest example of taking all those serious actors, Lloyd Bridges, Robert Stack. I mean, you're too young for all. Leslie Nielsen, of course, and they were all like in every '70s detective show as the bad guy, and then the Zuckers said, "Let's make them comedians." So, you know, I apologize for my aggressive tweeting early on in the show.
I wish I had seen it.
Well, I don't think it was anything too over the line, but I think I might have taken a picture of the billboard and... So this show looks horrible.
So, in a way, like, you may have turned people off to watching it in the first place.
I might be responsible for why it's not happening.
Yeah, maybe if we had opened stronger, we would have closed stronger.
Well, I mean, because I found that this show was ripe for great guest spots. Like the Don Johnson one was hilarious.
What's up, Joe?
Joe's even chiming in on that.
Yeah.
You know, like each week could be like a wacky
and
person on a flight.
And I think if we had gotten a second season, we would have had more of that. You know, I think they probably, like we had the potential to be sort of a Love Boat kind of thing.
Right.
Where we had wacky people going to Vegas every week, you know. We were, like, Will Ferrell was probably going to do an episode in the second season, which would have been amazing. And, you know, once you get Will Ferrell, like, then you get other SNL people. You get, you know, that caliber of comedic star. It would have been a blast.
Like, I could see Norm Macdonald, who...
Sure.
You know, I think we all know Norm has a love of gambling. So it wouldn't have been out of the realm of reality to see Norm going to Vegas.
Would have loved to get Charles Barkley on there.
Oh, my God. I mean, just... Because each week, it was like, there are freaks that go to Vegas.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I was just on a Southwest flight to do a comedy. I'm not bragging. A midweek gig in Vegas.
Weird flex, but okay.
And I had to go there on a Tuesday night, the last flight out, and it reminded me of being on Jackpot because there was maybe 8 people on this plane. It was a full-size plane.
That's amazing.
And just the way the stewardesses were interacting with each other, and I was like, wow, this is... I feel like I'm being punked right now. So I'm bummed out. But knowing that you've been on Nash Bridges, let's talk about that.
Okay.
That was your first role.
This doesn't come up often, my big Nash Bridges spot.
But see, I like to do these type of podcasts. I believe you'll be on many podcasts in the future. Talk shows, Conan.
It's Earl's Deep Cuts.
I like to go deep. I'm the master of the... People say sometimes I come off like I'm insulting them. Like I was once by Cindy Crawford at a sushi restaurant. We were waiting for the valet, and she looked at me. She knew I knew who she was.
Sure.
So she was waiting for... She's basically signaling, get your question out of the way. She's one of the most famous supermodels of all time, maybe the most famous. I just looked at her and said, I loved you in Fair Game. Which might be the worst movie to ever be. I'm sorry, Joel Silver, if you're listening. But I really did like her in Fair Game.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a little bit of a reach to see her as a Harvard lawyer, but
Sure.
like, what do I know?
Yeah.
So, you know.
And she didn't buy it. She was like, ugh.
You know, I was complimenting them.
Right, but you got the sense that she...
I got the sense that she said, come on, dude, that movie sucks. let's keep it real.
Oh, man.
And, you know, I
It's
met
a
that.
shame.
Well,
But I feel like even if someone told me that they loved me in Nash Bridges, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's gotten crap for Fair Game.
She probably has.
So when you say I loved you in it, she's like, yeah, right.
Well, like one time I was at the newsstand in Beverly Hills, and this interview is about you, not my walking around Beverly Hills. But I saw the sensei from Karate Kid.
Uh-huh.
Not the one with Will Smith's kid.
Right, Pat Morita.
No, I even know his name.
Oh.
Martin Cove.
Oh.
Who was the Cobra Kai sensei.
Oh, the Cobra Kai.
The leader of
sensei.
the Cobra Kai.
Got it.
And I just walked up to him and said, sweep the leg, Johnny.
Yeah.
Now, I thought he'd be like, hey, this guy knows who I am.
Yeah.
But you could tell he had a look in his eyes like he was going, dude, I've been in other films.
Right.
That movie was out 33 years ago.
Yeah, man.
So, Nash Bridges.
Right.
I mean, how did you get into it? I mean, like, take me from, like, you said that was the first thing you did.
Yeah, I did that in San Francisco because it was shot there, and I lived there. That's where I was born and raised. So that was like my first big thing that I did. And then like maybe a couple years later I moved, or maybe a year later I moved down here. But yeah, that just came out from like a normal audition. Nothing too sexy or exciting. You know, it was a big deal for me because I was working with Don Johnson and Cheech. And Cheech was lovely. Don was executive. You know what's funny is Don, I told Don I was in Nash Bridges, and he sort of like sighed, almost like, because I think he was not sober during Nash, right?
You know, it's possible he wasn't.
Yeah, and so he sort of sighed. You know, maybe I was reading too much into it, but I think in a way of being like, you know, I hope I wasn't a dick to you.
Well, I mean, I do find it funny how someone like that, or musicians maybe, anyone who's famous, when you compliment them on something they did a while ago.
Yeah.
Like I saw Todd Rundgren. He was on this street.
Who's that?
He very famous singer. He was in the 70s band called Utopia, and he's
musicians at all.
Well, I have a tremendous knowledge of.
You seem like sort of an encyclopedia
of useless. I could tell you what episodes Peter Stormare was in Prison Break. But he was.
Did you know about the Peter Stormare Easter eggs in Atlanta, Vegas?
No.
Bro, you got to watch it back. There's a line from a Peter Stormare movie in every episode.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting. See, this is why I do this. Now, can people get LA to Vegas? Is it on like Hulu
it's
or?
on Hulu. Yeah, it's on Hulu. Worth watching, folks.
I'm telling you, please. This is how it starts. I don't ask you guys for much.
Right. You know, Family Guy went away, right? Didn't it go away and then it came back? Didn't it?
There's a few shows that I'm telling you. I'm not giving up hope.
That would be a dream come true.
Well, I mean, I know when I'm Dying Up Here got canceled. You know, I live my life by don't worry about what you can't control.
Sure.
And so I had the feeling it wasn't going to get picked up. It was on Showtime, and you know the number one complaint I got on that show from my friends is like, dude, I don't have Showtime.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay. But then you see something like Ray Donovan be such a hit.
Right.
Like, well, how come that's a hit? When you got the word, you got a call from your agent. Like, I don't have an agent. I'm rogue, Amir. I pretty much put it together on my own.
Oh, wow.
Do you get, like, what was your, like, I mean, since you kind of knew possibly it wasn't coming back, do you get sad or you just move on to the next gig?
Well, I would say that this one I was sadder than usual because I got so close with people and because of that weird 10 days of being sort of jerked around by Fox of like, maybe you're going to come back, maybe you're not. You know, like if they had said, we're going to know by Friday, right? And then it kept being like, not Friday, we're going to know by Monday. Probably by Wednesday. They kept doing that. And it was this awful sort of purgatory that we were in. So that sucked. And then at the end of it to be like, nope, not happening, was tough. Not to mention the fact that like I feel like we really found our stride towards the end. We had so much fun with each other. I was like, man, if we get a season 2, we're really gonna level up, right? As far as like viewership, as far as guest stars, as far as having stuff to do. I was hoping to join the writing staff season 2. Like I had all these like hopes and dreams. Also, I was making $10 grand an episode for the last few episodes of the season.
Oh.
And I was going to get a raise to 40 if we got a season 2.
For you.
So that was also pretty fucking disappointing, right? Like the
Yeah, no, I know.
So I've never had a situation like that where I was making a certain amount and was waiting on a potential enormous raise.
I mean,
right? Like I've done pilots before, and it's like, well, if this gets picked up, then you'll be making this much, right? But like I've never had such a huge potential jump in my life, so that was really a bummer.
Well, fingers crossed, guys. I mean, do you just get right back into auditioning for things?
Yeah. Although at that point, I couldn't get another TV show, so just auditioning for like guest stars and stuff like that. And then so we found that out in like May, and then in November I booked another pilot. So
and when do you like? Because I don't think people realize that the wait and catch and mouse game. It's constant waiting. You book the pilot, but like
so we shot it in November. They're going to be screening it for Amazon in February, and Amazon has until June to decide. But we're all hopeful that they'll decide by March.
Right.
That we don't think it'll take them that long to decide. So now I'm just like waiting, hoping.
And like, can you still go out since you're kind of in limbo? Can you go out for other pilots or?
I can't go out for other pilots, so I'm locked into Amazon until June. Right now, if they decide in March that we're not going to pick it up, then I'll be available starting in March.
So what do you do in the interim? Like, you get back into your stand-up roots?
I wouldn't call it my stand-up roots. I would say it was a strange detour that I took.
Tell us about that detour.
Well, so my wife started doing stand-up before I did, and my, I was sitting, things were a little slow for me, and she and my manager both were like, if you did stand-up, it might be good for you to sort of expand your profile a little bit. You're creating your own material. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I've always been a huge fan of stand-up, a huge consumer of stand-up. And so I give it a shot. I wrote like a really good 10 to 15 minutes that I was proud of. But then I didn't write anything new for like a good 6 months or so. Don't
let that stop you.
Well, I know that a lot of people ride the same 10 minutes for years.
Yeah, you're looking at one.
But for me, I couldn't do that because I just got bored. So I was like, I need to be creating more material, but I couldn't do it because I was too busy with acting, and I didn't quite have the work ethic to do it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, if you have 15 good minutes and you want to build it into 30, you need to be going on a lot of open mics. You need to be getting up all the time. You need to be like having writing sessions with your bros and working on jokes and trying shit out. And I just didn't have the energy or the work ethic, so I just kind of quit. And now I'll do stand up like if someone's like, hey, we're doing a benefit, will you do 10 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But it's not something I pursue anymore.
Because I don't think people realize how grueling filming is.
Yeah, sure. And well, not just filming, but auditioning. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. You know, it's sure you're only in the room for 5 minutes, but if you tack on A, all the driving, and B, all the preparing to get your auditions in a good shape, it takes a lot of sort of mind space. And if you've got 2 a day, with like what has been pretty typical for me, it's a lot.
And when you walk into a room, do you ever, like, say the last 6 to 7 months, do casting directors go, oh, that's the guy from LA to Vegas?
I don't know how popular that show was in town. The fact is, most of the casting directors in town know me, so for them it's not so much like, oh, the guy from LA to Vegas. It's more just like, oh, that's Amir.
Right.
Audition. Now within those places, there's a lot of casting directors, right? Like,
oh, sure.
On La Brea, there's like 10 different people there, but there's really only like 4 or 5 buildings that you drive to for commercial auditions. For film and TV, there's a lot more than that, but yeah, but even most of the film and TV people have an idea of who I am.
See, I luck out because most casting people see me doing stand-up. So it's like, okay, we're not going to call this guy in to be the happy-go-lucky neighbor.
Right.
So,
right.
And the voiceover, I love voiceover.
Oh, it's a blast.
You just go in there and read, and you're out in 2 minutes. Because you do some voiceover stuff too, right?
Yeah, like I'll do commercials, and I've done some promo work, and you know, some cartoons. I was a series regular on the TV version of The Lion King. Not The Lion King. What the hell am I saying? Kung Fu Panda. I tried out for The Lion King recently, but yeah, Kung Fu Panda, the TV version of Turbo, the snail show. So yeah, I do a fair amount of voiceover. Keep busy with that.
So, being from Frisco, making the leap into the LA jungles,
yeah,
I like to give my fans advice.
Okay.
From people who are successful, like yourself.
All right.
Because I looked up you on IMDb. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy works a lot.
Yeah.
How do you keep... and you're married. How do you keep it all going in this wacky business?
Oh, boy.
And you have a great dog.
He's an awesome dog. Jesus. How do I keep it going? What do you mean? Like, keep what going?
Like, I've lost...
your sanity?
Well, in this business?
Or your work?
Both.
Work is just luck, man. So much of work is luck. I mean, talent really helps, right? But you also have to be... Like, I'm lucky that... Look, I work in commercials a lot, right? And 2 of the main reasons I work in commercials a lot is that you can't quite tell what ethnicity I am immediately.
I would say just... I would... If I didn't know you, which I guess I don't, I'd say possibly Italian.
Okay.
Israeli.
Okay.
Mexican.
Okay.
So you've got a great... like, I have a friend of mine, his name's Gabriel Tigerman. He's one of the top commercial actors.
Yeah, I know Gabe.
It's so weird that I can't describe him to you. Like, he's just a white dude.
Yeah.
So you have, like, that look, but of maybe a darker descent.
Sure, yeah, basically like a Eastern Mediterranean look, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that is useful to commercials because they can plug you in and a lot of different people see themselves in you.
Right.
Right? The Italians look at me and go, oh, that guy kind of looks like me. The Persians look at me and go, that guy kind of looks like me. Same Israelis, different Arabs, whatever. Maybe even some Indians. So that's useful. And then the other good thing that is useful to commercial producers is I have big expressive eyes, which is useful in a 15-second spot. Right? Like, if you're super squinty, like, it's not as useful.
Right.
That's just random luck on my part.
Good
right?
for you.
I'm not killing the eye game. That's just luck. So the way you get work is be talented, be ready, but also be lucky, right?
And I say, am I wrong in thinking that hard work creates most luck?
Hard work creates a lot of luck, but I don't know if it creates most. You know what I mean? Like, I'm also lucky that I was born in San Francisco and I don't have a noticeable accent, right? Like, I don't have a New York accent. I don't have a Southern accent. I don't have a Middle Eastern accent. That's just luck, right? So I'm booking a lot more because I'm just lucky to not have an accent. That's not hard work.
Right.
Right. So, there's a lot of things, and then again, there's times where you get lucky where sometimes I've heard people didn't get jobs because they looked like the producer's ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend.
Uh-oh.
Right? And the producer was like, that person was good, but they just remind me of bad memories. So that's just bad luck, right? So for whatever reason, I've been lucky to not look like anyone's ex. Maybe
Well,
I have. Who knows?
I mean, you don't look like any of my exes, but I'd be worried if you did.
So look, the thing is, you can't control your luck, but you can control how hard you work. So just keep working hard.
So that's for all you actors and comics who listen to this show. Now, we're going to talk for a few more minutes, but we're going to cut the Facebook live feed now. So you have to go to Apple Podcasts and listen to the rest.
Do it.
Where can people, for the people who aren't going to join us on the journey that people are
Suckers.
lazy, so
Assholes.
lazy. Free content. I'm getting you celebrity guests.
Is your podcast not free content?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I like to do like teasers.
Sure, gotcha.
So like, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to cut it right before you start.
Oh, shit.
So then people are like, oh, well, that's a good question. We want to hear the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, podcasts are free.
Yeah, right.
From Joe Rogan's to mine.
Yeah.
But I think people who don't do the Apple thing get scared that they have to pay for it if they're like an Android user.
Yeah.
But then that's why you have a site like SoundCloud.
Yep.
Which is, I don't want to get too deep into podcast
Weeds.
technical talk.
Sure.
But no one.
I like Overcast. Do you know Overcast? That's where I listen to my podcasts. The Apple Podcast app sucks, and every subsequent release of it makes it worse. I don't know how it's possible, but I despise the Apple Podcast app.
Well,
I use Overcast and I like it. I don't know if it's available on Android, but check it out. Not getting paid, just fucking like it.
Well, I'm having problems with Apple right now because someone reported me for a music violation.
Oh.
Now, long story short, I don't want to. This is not why I had you on the podcast.
All right.
But so I was like for like 2 years consistently in the top 10 in iTunes comedy, which is a big it really helped me get. You know, it just helps to reach out to someone like you who's on a TV show. Hey, I have a semi-popular podcast. Yeah. Here's the charts. And you go, okay, it's not a complete waste of my time.
Right.
You didn't even need the charts.
No, I asked my wife, I was like, is Earl a shitbag? And she's like, oh, he's a comedian, and as far as I know, he's not a shitbag. I was like, great, good enough for me.
Well, thank you to your lovely wife. Let's get her on the podcast. I'm already lining up future guests. Is she still on? Well, so the music.
She doesn't do stand up anymore.
What can I ask? What she does?
Yeah, she's a writer, and she also teaches people how they can travel for free.
And
Get to the point workshop.com.
If you want to
learn how you can travel for free. She's also got a podcast, Get to the Point Podcast.
And what does that cover?
That's like traveling for saving money on